Hi, it's Emily, a contributing blogger at secondarysolutionsblog.com, and today I want to do a quick video tutorial for how to use Collaborize Classroom, an online discussion forum that is protected and private and has a wealth of teacher resources in it. So to sign up for your account, you'll just go to collaborizeclassroom.com and click on Sign Up for your free site today. Once you're all logged into your Collaborize Classroom website, then you want to make sure that you create your classes and then your categories within classes. So you would go to Manage, and then you go to Manage the Site. Once you are in Manage Your Site, you're going to look at your categories. To add a category group, that's what you would do for different class periods. You click here and add one. So as you can see, I have Language and Comp, English 11, Period 2, English 11, Period 3 set up. You can make them visible to everyone, or you can make them visible just to certain groups. So for my Language and Comp, I only want it to be visible to my English 11 AP students, and then I'm going to save the changes. That way they don't have to look through the other classes' information, or they don't need to get into the other classes' information. To add a new topic within a class, so I just have class 1 discussions, but if I wanted to add another topic, I could add a category within this same class, and I could maybe call it test prep or something, and then I could have different categories within the same class. Now that you have your classes and categories set up, you can invite students and then begin the discussions. And so you're going to invite students to go to your particular Collaborize Classroom URL, which you can name it anything you want that's easy to remember. I named mine Guthrie English. So the students would go, and the first time they'd need to register now. And they just need to give me a little bit of information about themselves. Students will have to agree to the terms of use, and then they will be sent to the moderator for approval. So with your first Collaborize Classroom assignment, it'll take a little while for everyone to get on and then for you to approve them. But then once they're approved, you don't have to go through this process again. So I'll show you what it looks like from the teacher login. So now that I'm logged back in as the teacher or moderator, I'm going to have a little notification that something is pending and I need to approve a new member. So I'm going to click on that, and I see the student's name and their email address, and so I can see whether or not I want to approve or deny them. Once I've created an approved user, then I can make them an authenticated user, a moderator admin. I can delete them. I can edit their profile, I can change their class period or create a new group. The other thing I can do is I can click on that student and I can see how much they've participated in any time period I want. I can set the time period up here. Obviously this student was just created, and so she hasn't participated yet, but it's a really nice way to pull up all their participation logs if you're having a parent conference or a student conference, or you're just interested in looking at the participation of a particular student. Now that you have your classes and categories set up and your students added to the site, now it's time to start a discussion. So you just click right here, Start a Discussion. You can give it any title, any description. You can use a variety of question types, so they could be yes or no questions, and then students have to justify their position. You could use multiple choice if you were looking at something like which character trait do you think describes Odysseus the most, and then you could go through some character traits. Students could answer a multiple choice question and then justify it. Or if you were doing test prep, multiple choice might be nice. You could do a vote or suggest, where students vote an answer or suggest an answer or vote for another student's response, or just a forum where students write and then reply. Then you choose which category you want it to go into, for which class and which category. You can post it to multiple categories. If I wanted the same question for both of my 11th grade classes, I could do that. You could attach a file, an image, video, or document. So for example, I had a forum discussion recently where students had to respond to a TED Talk and so I attached the TED Talk there. So, for example, one of my recent forum type discussion posts for my class was about a George Orwell quote about the imperialists, that he wears a mask and his face grows to fit it. Then students had to explain their thoughts on that and reply to each other. So I can scroll through and see that all of my students participated in the discussion, they replied to each other, they had their own answers. Some got replied to more, so you can see how that created a place for student discussion that could go much deeper than what we could do in the 50 minutes that we have in a class period. Once a particular discussion is finished, you can publish it to the results. So you would just click Action and Publish to Results, and then it'll show up on this tab here. If you did something that was multiple choice or vote, or any of those kind of quantitative categories, then it will publish it to a nice looking chart. So I'll show you one that we did a little bit earlier this school year. It was just an icebreaker that Collaborize Classroom suggested, which was, one of them was a list for establishing online student communication, and the question was, would you add anything to this list, or do you think it's fine the way it is? So 11% of my students said that the list was comprehensive, and 88% would add something, and then they had to comment what they would add. Or another question was about the time machine. If you could go on a time machine, where would you go and why? And so this is the breakdown of when students chose to go in time. And then they all commented about why they would go to the Roaring Twenties or wherever they decided. It's neat to see the breakdown of students. If you're doing test prep, you can see what percentage are getting the answer correct. If you're doing a more subjective question, you can just see where their opinions lie, and so can the students. So that's kind of a neat part of this. A final teacher-friendly aspect of Collaborize Classroom that I want to point out in this quick tutorial are the reports. So if I go to Manage Reports, I can focus on reading my students' answers for quality and not necessarily checking off, did they comment in each question, did they reply, because I can easily do a user activity report. So if I go to participation report here, I can check in the last 30 days, but I do about one Collaborize Classroom assignment a week, so I would usually check within the week. When the report shows up, it will tell me their email address, their first name, their last name, their screen name, the number of topics that they added, the number of comments, and the number of replies. So I can see easily how many they responded to and how many times they replied to others, so that I can focus my grading on the quality of their answers and not on counting how many times they participated. I cut this screen off a little bit here just for student privacy so that they didn't have their email addresses or names completely revealed. Now that I've shown you a little bit about how Collaborize Classroom works, I want to tell you why I love it in my classroom. Number one, I think it adds to deeper conversations. Instead of students reading a piece and then all answering the same 3 questions, they push themselves further by having a discussion about whatever the topic is. They also will go deeper in their own time without being confined to the 50 minutes we have in class when they're thinking about their test next period and their practice after school and everything else. They can participate when their mind space is in the right place. I also find it to be an important tool for teaching online communication, which is going to be more and more relevant to their lives. It's something that they really need to be taught. It's also easier for me to grade because everything is kind of laid out clearly for me. I can see easily with reports how many times people are participating. I can easily scroll through a discussion forum and read for quality. I find it more engaging for me and easier for me to grade. And I also find that students who don't participate in class because they're uncomfortable, because they're shy, because their mind's somewhere else, participate in Collaborize Classroom, and it gives them a voice that they've not had previously in my class and potentially in other classes. There are a lot of ways that you can do this blog discussion forum in your classroom. I just love Collaborize Classroom, their teacher tools, the privacy of it, the easy publishing, the quantifying answers with those pie charts and things like that. So if you have any questions about Collaborize Classroom, please visit us at secondarysolutionsblog.com. And we'll also be doing a couple more video blogs about how to use Collaborize Classroom to engage the Common Core and as an enrichment and intervention tool coming soon.